Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dragon Talk. We have two amazing guests here in the studio. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. How are you?
You are Jess Dempsey.
Yes, I am.
And you are Joey Iovino.
Yes.
I glanced down to make sure.
Just to double check.
Yes, exactly. So how's it going? You guys are collectively Dots RPG?
Yes.
We are.
We run the Dots RPG project. It's a 501c3 that's focused on improving accessibility in gaming for disabled individuals.
Awesome. And how long have you guys been doing that?
A little over a year.
Year-ish.
Yeah, a little over a year.
What drew you to doing this?
Oh, that's a fun story. No, it's a good one, though. So 2017, this started as a project between two friends, Jack and his friend Dee.
Mm-hmm.
They actually met at a convention, and Jack realized that there was this phenomenal dungeon master at the table next to him, went to go sit down at a game, and realized that he was blind. And he's like, well...
That the dungeon master was blind?
Yeah. So Dee is completely blind, and he was like, how do you read the books? How do you learn everything you need to learn? How do you play?
Yeah.
And it became this whole exploration of learning that Dee's friends and his players would read the books to him. He would memorize all 300 some odd pages and then just run with it. Dice became, dice rolling was his players would roll, and it was very largely based on trust. So they started this whole project. Jack's like, we're going to transcribe books for you. We're going to make books into Braille for you. We're going to create Braille dice. And they hit the ground running with it. I came in maybe 6-7 months later just to help them out after Dee passed away.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away January 2018.
Oh.
And we are continuing all of this for him, like in his memory. This is everything that he wanted to do, was bring the world of tabletop gaming to blind players and other disabled players. So it's actually really exciting that we fell into it.
Yeah. Well, how exactly did you get involved with these two friends?
I met Jack through a dice collecting group. One of those.
One of those dice collecting groups.
One of those.
Was it like on Facebook or something like that?
Yeah.
Which shall remain nameless.
Yeah. I may or may not be very deeply involved in Dice Maniacs Club for many years.
Uh-huh.
So I met him there. And he was looking for a way to redesign the dice or like make something better or look into like how to actually produce them. And then we actually went and met him at PAX Unplugged and just got involved. We're like, hey, we'll help out. Joey's been doing a lot of like redesign on them. Like this latest version that we have now is stuff that Joey designed.
Yeah, the way the orientation edge works and all that was my first contribution to everything. And she was helping him out with social media, marketing, all that stuff.
Everything.
That's so cool.
Else.
We were essentially doing most of the work, as it were.
And then we just, it turned into a full-blown thing. A lot of different people with different disabilities were saying, like, hey, we need help. Like, is there anything that you can do for us? And we realized that the best case scenario would be we formed an actual charity, 501c3 approved charity. And we're essentially the middleman. We're the facilitators between publishers and big game developers and the individuals that need the assistance. So we're putting everybody in touch with the experts that they need to make sure that we can get the content out to everybody that needs it.
That's amazing. And I think there, with the growth of Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing games in general, part of, I think, the growth has been through groups that you may not associate with playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? And so we've focused a lot on bringing more women into the game, more people of color, and then people with disabilities is another big part of this. And there's no reason for them not to be able to tell stories with their friends and use their imaginations, just like all of the materials allow for folks out there to do that. So here it is, bringing it to more and more people.
And we're working really closely with D&D Beyond on helping make their website more accessible because it's not great for screen readers right now. There's some code that has to get fixed and optimized. But for many visually impaired people, D&D Beyond was their first opportunity to ever access the game.
Yeah, because it was online,
Yeah, because they couldn't read the books. Braille books don't exist, and we're going to be working on that.
Yeah.
But having access to D&D Beyond is, can open up a whole new world to somebody that never got to play before.
Now, when you say it's a lot of the text probably works with most software that is made for visually impaired people, right? To be able to do that type of stuff.
Yeah, it can. The short version is it kind of depends on how the website was coded. For example, like a Flash website, anything that's really heavily graphics based wouldn't really work.
Yeah.
So there's stuff that's built into like the HTML that tells the program, okay, read here, this is a title, or this is a paragraph, or this is an image. So there's a lot of that back-end stuff that just needs to get optimized, but it's looking really good, and the team at D&D Beyond is making great progress on it so far.
What about a character sheet? Because I would imagine that would be pretty difficult to translate into something that could be read through Braille.
Yeah, character sheets, as far as printed versions, we have things that we're working on, and you can kind of make anything that's static, like the type of like the word strength, the word dex, like that word is never going to change. So we can put that in Braille. But then as far as the numbers, that can change during play, and that can change as you level up. So we're working on a way to have a dynamic Braille character sheet. In the end, it's probably going to be a lot easier to do something that is electronic, and just have it be like a basic Word document or a basic Excel document that can keep track of your stats for you. But we're experimenting.
Nice. And I mean, I guess that falls into playtesting like anything else, right? Where you work with the people who would these products are designed for, and get feedback and iterate and continue to make changes and things like that. And it looks like you've been doing that with these dice. So
we've actually got a great team of volunteers. One of our counterparts that runs this whole thing with us, Tyler Palermo, is visually impaired. They do still have some partial vision, but not enough to say read text.
Yeah.
But any new dice that we have, we just send them out.
Send them to Tyler.
Yeah.
We're like, guinea pig time, go test this. Does this work? Does this not work? Because we don't know. Like Joey and I are not the experts. We have no disabilities, and we don't want to speak for, or we don't want to represent a population that we don't know or that we can't experience or truly understand.
Yeah.
But we're both very good at networking and talking to people and connecting and getting the people in touch that need to be in touch. So when it comes to actually learning the things that we do, we're relying on everybody that's part of our team that has these disabilities that can speak to what their real life is.
Yeah.
It's been a really interesting learning experience. I mean, I know when we first started, we thought that blind was like this binary. You either see or you don't.
Yeah.
And that's really not the case. There's different types of blindness. There's different levels of it. There's different degrees. So it's been really interesting to learn and see what it is that we can do to help people.
That's very cool. I played a blind character in a D&D stream last fall.
I remember.
And
Blind Temple.
Yes, Blind Temple. I know, but I was literally going to use the phrase, it was an eye-opening experience.
Was it?
Whoops.
So that's why I giggled. But no, it was wonderful working with Blind Temple to understand that, and that was one of the first things that he told me, that it's not a on or off. It is a spectrum of people who can see a little bit or see other things, and be sensitive to certain things, and so that's where I developed the idea that character had a sensitivity to magic, and so that he might see things that were specifically divine or more magical, or at least detect them, not necessarily see them, but it was very, as you said, a learning experience because, and that's one of the great things about Dungeons & Dragons is you can put yourself into the shoes of a character who is experiencing these things, and it changed the way I thought about it. And it was really exciting just on a character level, how to experience a fantasy world that is only observed through the other senses. And I applaud you guys for going into the actual, mundane part of playing the game and making that easier so that the imagination of these players can continue to sing.
Yeah, it's a really great thing with tabletop games because it's all imagination based. Sure, there's rule books, sure, there's guidelines on what you can do, but other than that, it's a free game. You could do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to be able to explore a space like you did, like with a character with a disability, something that you may never understand in your life. see how that affects you as a character. It's really interesting having, we have people come to us frequently asking about that. Like, you know, I want to play a character with some sort of disability, or blind, deaf, hard of hearing, physical disabilities. How do I do that properly?
Yeah.
How do I do that correctly?
Yeah.
And we'll put them in touch with somebody that has the lines of disabilities that they're looking for. But it's heartwarming to see that people want that experience. People want to understand. You know, they don't want to just do it to be the token, you know, different character. They want to do it to truly understand what that experience is to the best that they can.
Yeah. Well, and I like that what you guys are doing is trying to level the playing field to a certain extent, right? Like where it, you know, they can participate just like anybody else at the table with the tools that you're providing to them, so it doesn't become you know, the odd person out.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's really important. And, you know, part of the talks I had with Blind Temple was, you know, not to make it about so much about this character being blind. Like they're an adventurer, they're on their story, their things are happening. They just happen to be blind. And I thought that was really really compelling, especially with the lighthearted kind of nature of the Clerical Error show too. It was really just fun.
It helps a little bit
to jump into it, right? Yeah, exactly. So what are your major initiatives? I mean, I know you're working on these dice. You're also working on translating the actual source books into physical products too.
Yes. So the dice we've had out for a while, and we are donating them to schools, libraries, game stores, anybody to have on hand as part of their lending library in case somebody that's visually impaired comes in and wants to sit down and play a game. They can pull out and be like, you know, you can roll your own dice. And that's something that people that are blind or people that have been blind since birth have never had that experience. Mm-hmm. And we all know, like, you can't not roll your own dice. Like, especially those really tense moments where you're waiting for a crit or something like that. It's so much more exciting, and it's so much better to be able to roll that and know that yourself instead of having to ask your friend to do it for you.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the whole table gets the excitement before you know what happened.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why when we create these, even on our website, we have the 3D models available for free download. Anybody with a 3D printer can print their own set.
That's so great.
And donate to, you know, friends or something like that.
Yeah, and we've got the prototypes or you know, the samples of what you got here at the thing, and you know, we were talking about before we started this interview, you know, just the simple mechanical nature that most people probably wouldn't even consider, the fact of like which is up and down.
Yep.
You know, like when you're looking at a face of a die, you can see a 7. You're like, okay, that's up, that's down, and you know, for the 6s and the 9s, there's a little marker.
That's one, yeah,
right? But essentially, with Braille, you have to do an orientation.
Yeah, you have to know which way to place your finger to read it correctly. Otherwise, you know, the cells will be shifted and you wind up with a different number or letter.
Yeah, and that's something, I mean, did you guys think about that before you started, or was that part of the
didn't
iteration
even know.
process?
Yeah.
That was just, oh no, we have to do this. How do we
learned.
make this work?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. It's fascinating to you know. So yeah, right. There's a dotted line now on each one of these faces of the die. That I'm trying to read it like a visually impaired person would to be able to figure out which way is which, right? And so this is a 20.
Yep.
And another fascinating thing that I didn't know about was that there's no numbers in Braille.
Correct. Yeah, it's only the letters. So letter A stands for number 1. Letter B stands for number 2. And traditionally, the letters that are used are only A through J. And then if you want to do a 2-digit number, like you'll do AA for 11, AB for 12. If you're using a number, you should have a pound sign in front of it, what people nowadays call a hashtag sign.
Yeah.
You know, that number sign.
Hashtag 1.
Sure.
Tweet it out. Everybody go.
Everybody go. Hashtag 1.
Yeah, but that
Epic
is
fail.
to show the reader that this letter is supposed to be a number.
Right.
So you would have pound 1 or pound 2,
right,
which is really pound A or pound B. We stripped that out of most of our dice to keep them as small as possible, because if you're looking at, you know, when you're getting at 20, when you're looking at 2-digit numbers, you're looking at 3 different letters essentially that you need to have on the face of a die, and those become huge.
Yeah.
You know, if you're looking at it to be completely legible, you're looking at like a 50 to 60 millimeter die. Those are big.
That's a big die.
These come in at 30 millimeter, which is about double the size of a standard set of dice.
Right. And when you say 30 millimeter, it's the length along one.
The whole thing.
Oh, it's the whole thing. The whole thing is that? Oh, okay.
Like standard dice are 16.
I think it's like 31 and standard 16. So it's just under double.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when we got those out to people and they got to test them for the first time, everyone's like, yeah, it's big, but it's not too big. It's not uncomfortable to hold and to handle.
And you guys 3D print these?
Yes.
Yeah.
How much has that opened up the doors to doing more stuff like this?
It's the only way that this has been possible. Because even now with this design, that orientation edge that we have, we're going to run into problems if we go try to mass produce, because everything in Braille needs to be very precise. Like we can't have any jagged edges or overflow or anything like that. You pick up a standard set dice, every once in a while something will have a little chip or something will have a little flaw, and that can make or break what this is. But the only way that we can get this done is through 3D printing, and it's been phenomenal. Having access to do this is something that wouldn't have been possible 10 years ago.
Yeah, with the rise of 3D printing, it really has changed a lot. Joey, you were saying that you were spending a lot of time with your 3D printer. Do you have a name for it?
No. We have two of them, so they're not quite twins.
So you've got two kids?
They're like they're Irish twins.
So
we got them about 9 months apart. So it kind of works. One of them, Jess, actually won.
Yeah.
We had the first one donated from money that was donated to the charity, and we were like, all right, this is awesome. We can get a decent 3D printer now. Let's start moving forward. And we printed with it for months before anything had happened. There was never any issues. It was just really having to put the supports in on our own, make sure none of the Braille cells failed, make sure none of the orientation edges failed, because anything that overhangs, really needs to be supported going all the way up in the files. Otherwise, it's not going to print right.
Yeah.
And that's really where a lot of the trouble comes in.
Yeah, it's a very
the
precise
recessed face and then stuff sticking out. So whichever way the die is leaning, the stuff on top is usually fine. But anything that just hangs out over the side it's crazy. You move it this much and it doesn't print right. So there's
a lot of trial and error.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, especially learning because we were new to 3D printing in general. Like there's entire communities based around this. This is what people live every single day.
Yeah.
And so we were learning, and it's a very precise item, but it can work wonders when it's perfect.
Yeah, the possibilities are really out there, and that's some of the other stuff we've been exploring is like, what else can we make with this? Those kind of things. Like, what's something that you guys have a need for that we haven't done yet that theoretically could be 3D printed,
Right.
And, anything that we get, if sometimes I have to reach out for a little bit of design help because we're still learning all this, so I don't really know how to build all of it. But it's worked so far, so no complaints.
That's cool. About how long does it take to print out an entire set of polyhedral dice?
4 hours, I think, is the max on one of them.
I think
it depends on the size of the piece.
It depends on the size. If we're using the gray resin, the green resin.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors. The green, typically, I believe the D20s come in at about 4 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, a single die is 4 hours?
Well, it depends on the build plate. So originally we had it set up with all 7 on the build plate, build a full set at a time. But we realized that it kind of wasn't working out great that way because it was a little scrunched together and, the way everything was sitting. So we revamped it to print, 6D6s at a time, 6D4s at a time. I think we do 3 D20s. So that's the longest one. I think the 6s go for about 2.5 hours, give or take. So it's not terrible. We're trying to just essentially mass produce as best as I can.
Right.
And they all 6 of these, 6 of these, 6 of these,
right.
6 of these.
And they all need a bit of finishing afterwards. You can't just get them straight oth the printer. They need to be polished and sanded and all that stuff.
They have to go through a little bit of IPA bath, clean them off, sand them, cure them. So there's tons of work that we put into them afterwards too.
Wow.
Yeah. These even get clear coated with UV resistant spray.
Right.
So they can't crack or chip afterwards.
Or degrade from the sun.
Yeah, and it also helps them, stick together a little bit. So
Yeah.
Did you say an IPA bath?
yeah.
Not the beer.
I mean,
What does the beer have to do with this? Do
I
you have to
drink
take
the
a
beer.
bath?
I drink the beer, and the dice go in the solution.
I like
No,
the best
it's-
part about where you're not drinking the beer, you're just bathing in the beer.
Just soaking it in.
Yeah, it's all through the pores.
Osmosis alcoholic right here.
It's isopropyl alcohol, like rubbing
Oh,
alcohol.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize that was a shorthand for isopropyl.
I'm just so used to saying it back and forth with her. I didn't even
I
think
know.
about it.
That's amazing. So what you're saying, so the answer to the question, so the D20 is about 4 hours. We're saying about 2 to 3 each for these.
the
so
mid-range,
you're
yeah.
talking about 24 hours to print out.
I'll probably get about 3 sets out of that. Yeah.
That's
And then they
a lot.
take 6 to 10 hours of post processing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. Sitting down and just sanding all of them.
Yeah.
And then washing them all off again, getting
Yeah.
them ready, and then even the clear coating takes a while because you got to spray them and then let them dry, flip them over, spray them again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a process, but it's meticulous for a reason. We want to make sure that they're the best quality that they can be. And so even when we make this, I think we come in cost-wise at about $20, $25, $30, something
Give
like
or
that.
take. Yeah, it depends on the cost of the resin, which has been going down a little bit recently, which is
Yeah.
nice.
So $20 for a set?
Yeah, I think we're coming in at like 20 to
25,
30.
give or take. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just materials, though. You're not factoring in.
We're not
labor.
factoring in labor.
No.
Yeah.
Buying the masks for spraying. And
How much? How much is your labor?
You don't want to know.
You don't want to know.
Apparently nothing.
Yeah, right.
But compared to, you go to shapeways.com, which is wonderful, but that set runs about $85.
And so, yeah, for folks who might not know, what is Shapeways?
Shapeways is a 3D printing service, shapeways.com, and they've got a little bit of everything on there. And we put our files up on there a long time ago and made them available to people for purchase. And so from Shapeways, you can purchase items pre-printed from them. And a lot of stores may have like a markup on it to get profit, and we didn't do that because we wanted to keep the cost as low as possible.
Right.
But even printing that, it's about $85, I think, last we saw.
Yeah, give or take. The Shapeways doesn't even make really anything on them. That's the cost of material because
Yeah.
they know it's from us. So
Yep.
they've been very cool about it too, which is awesome.
And they've also got, $10 million industrial printers.
Yeah.
So theirs are a lot different than what we're working off of.
So did these come from Shapeways?
Yes, they did.
These purple ones. And then the resin ones that you got here?
Yeah.
These
That's
you
us.
guys did?
Yep.
Yes.
That's off the printer at home
I'm
process.
not gonna lie, I like yours better.
Because those are solid.
Yeah.
Everybody likes the feel of them.
They're a lot. Yeah, they feel like a set of dice that I would have. They
Yeah.
have closer to that weight. The Shapeways ones are, and then just. I mean, I guess you could print it out in resin on Shapeways too.
No. So that's actually nylon. And they print it. It's weird. They kind of suspend it in a powder. And then, like Jell-O, you're kind of creating something inside. It's a very strange process, but that's why it's so expensive.
They do have a few different materials that you're allowed to purchase with, but I don't believe that you can get them.
Yeah, we can't
with
do
the
resin
resin
through
that we
them.
have.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why is that so?
It's just the types of machines that they have and what works better for mass production.
Oh, okay.
With them, they're cranking stuff out 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's also the stuff that they use is also very, very highly detailed. The imperfections are
Yeah.
almost nothing compared to sometimes we have a little bit of things that we have to contest with. So we have, dice that we have to get rid of that are failed die. And we have a bag of them at home.
Nice. Failed dice.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
and it could be
dice
like
jail.
a small imperfection, but if we don't think that it's optimal for a blind user, we're not going to send them out.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
If you can't read the Braille perfectly, if it doesn't pass our perfect quality control, then we can't get them out to anybody.
Now, do you guys do the quality control, or do
Yes.
you, make sure a visually impaired person can read them?
So it started out with a little bit of both. We had, like I said, Tyler works with us. Tyler tested a whole bunch of them from the beginning.
Yeah.
And with different types of material that we had, like we had a filament printer before, and it just really wasn't working out very well. And when we switched to the resin, So they've tested it, and we've gotten it out to a whole bunch of other people that have also tested it. So we know, like all the tops should be flat. Here's what all the standards should be, and we just make sure to go from there.
Yeah, whenever we change something, we try to get a set out to Tyler usually, or if we're working on a new D6, if I'm playing with something, we'll try and get one over just so we can have that feedback.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So how long have you guys been playing Dungeons and Dragons? What's been how did this get started?
She's my Jerry.
Yeah. Joey actually hasn't played until I roped him into it.
Nice.
Yeah, I was the video game one.
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing.
It's fine. Yeah.
I was high school in 3.5 days.
Nice.
So I was in 3.5 for a couple years, and then I stopped. Life happens. And then I picked it back up 4 years ago?
Give or take.
5 years ago?
Yeah.
And when I picked up my books again, when I picked up the 5e book, I was like, I did not expect any of this to happen.
Yeah.
It's become a whole vocation.
It is. And I just...
she got me playing stuff on my PlayStation like Neverwinter, and she's like, you're getting ready, you're getting there. And then it was like, hey, you want to play a game? And I was like, all right. And me being like a JRPG guy in general, I just started, let me create a character. Let me create a character. Let me create a character.
That's awesome.
And then he discovered homebrew.
Oh yeah, that was terrible. That was a bad thing for me.
Why?
Some of my characters are, let's say, interesting.
Interesting?
Yes.
Okay.
But I would read through just pages and pages of stuff that people have created and be like, I want a piece of this, a piece of that.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So you're connecting them all together.
Oh yeah.
So
crazy characters.
And your
you're
favorite?
Like, let's make it as broken as possible.
I don't know if I want to say it,
He's your favorite.
My favorite character is Sir Stuffington Knightsbane III. He's an animated teddy bear.
Oh, okay.
And we actually went over together how to make it as interesting as it could be in the context of how to play a character like that. So he was immune to poison because he doesn't have blood, immune to fall damage, resistant to bludgeoning damage, but very vulnerable to fire, half walking speed if he gets wet.
Right.
Advantage on deception if you sit still.
Yeah.
It was just a whole list of these really cool little things that we came up with for it. It was really fun, though.
Oh, that's cool.
And this is what I deal with when I play with him. Because I'm the DM for our games.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sir Stuffington.
Yes.
She
has to deal with my craziness. The game we're playing now with a few friends, Pete and Sam, it's a regular, just straight out of the book 5e, but I still come up with dumb stuff. So.
But awesome. It always adds more to the game. And that's why, when we take the homebrew stuff, when you take any homebrew stuff, it's like, okay, is this broken? Can we make it better? We don't want it to be a game-breaking homebrew character, but we can still have fun with it.
Yeah, it's only game-breaking if the dungeon master's not willing to roll with it.
Right. And, all else fails, oops, you caught fire. Sorry.
You can always burn.
There was
Stuffington.
Way too many ways for her to kill me, even though I was resistant to a lot. It was dangerous. It was dangerous.
It's hard to be a teddy bear out there.
I had to take down all my damage rolls by one. So if I was using a short sword, it was a D4 instead of a D6.
Because you were a small
considered tiny creature.
Tiny?
Oh, you're actually a small bear.
Yeah.
I was imagining at least
didn't go for it.
bear.
Regular,
no, and I think we took fairy stats or pixie
yep.
stats or something like that.
So not a lot of health.
Nope.
It added to my AC though a little bit, which was cool because you're so small that it's harder to hit.
Oh right, that makes sense.
Yeah, picked up some interesting things.
4 health
it was really
or something
cool.
like that.
Yeah, I did not have a lot of health at level 1.
Did Sir Stuffington wear armor?
We only played him for a couple of rounds. I really, even if I get into a game with someone else, I want to revive him even as maybe a flavored halfling or something.
Yeah. Or an NPC. Or something.
But
it was the
it wasn't long
psionic
enough.
armor.
Yeah, it was, something.
He pulled in some psionic
stuff.
stuff.
There was some
too.
cool.
Yeah.
I think his AC starting out was crazy. It was something like 18
for a bear.
Yeah, but he didn't hit very hard, and he didn't have a lot of health. So
was he a fighter?
No, he was a
ranger.
Ranger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't want to get up close and personal.
Did you shoot a lot of things?
Yeah. Psionic bow and arrow.
Psionic bow, the whole nine. Yeah, it was very cool.
This is what happens when a video game player gets involved in homebrew.
I would just say a creative person, but
Yeah.
okay.
I'm okay with.
Well, he's like, well, I want to do
creative-ish.
this and this and this, and I'm like, all right, fine. Here's what
Right.
homebrew looks like.
Nice. I think the next step is to put a audio cassette recorder in Sir Stuffington.
Oh no.
Like a nanny cam.
Or maybe go full Teddy Ruxpin. Like that's nightmare fuel right there.
Could be
Yes.
good. Could be
Maybe
good.
that's the bad guy that you want to introduce as Dungeon Master is the evil Teddy
Ruxpin
Ruxpin who's trying to destroy. Yeah, I'm liking all this thing.
I mean, there's no reason that particular teddy bear couldn't have been mass produced,
Yeah,
You never know.
and there could be clones.
that's
of you
right. There could be
around.
versions of you all over the homebrew world that you guys are.
This is just getting scarier and scarier.
I know. I like it.
Oops.
That's cool. So have you always been Dungeon Master?
Not in 3.5 days. I was a player.
Mhm.
But yeah, once we started 5e, I did, what did we do? A game or two, I think I was a player, but I pretty much fall into a dungeon master role.
Nice. Why do you
And
think
that's
that is?
okay. Huh?
Why do you think that is? Why are you drawn to that?
How do I say it without sounding horrible? I like torturing my players.
You failed.
A little
I
bit.
know. It's just, I love, like even outside of this, I'm a creative person. I do photography, I do writing. So all of this kind of stuff, like creating a world, or even if I take published content or, regular WotC modules, just kind of make it my own. I love doing that kind of world building.
Yeah.
And I love puzzles, and I put them through puzzles all the time.
Do you love puzzles?
Not anymore.
Not my not my puzzles, because the way that I make my puzzles don't make sense to anybody else. But that's not my problem. That's the player's problem.
Yeah.
So I really like creating, and I really like the opportunities that DMing provides. And my current players with Joey, Pete, Sam, we have Joyce and John too. We're playing Lost Mines because a lot of them were fairly new to the game.
Right. So you started with the starter set.
And oh god, they're disasters.
Yeah, we just ran
best
first
kind
into
of
a green
disaster.
dragon last time we played.
It
Just why not?
Sure.
I
Start attacking.
think Sam decapitated a mayor.
Yeah,
A mayor.
Yeah, not good looks.
because
I thought you said mare, like a female horse at
No,
first. I'm
no,
like,
no.
oh wait, no, a
No.
mayor.
No, this is
Oh.
not The Godfather.
It could be.
It could be.
because he gave her a bag of holding to put the orc heads in, and when they got back, she's like, "Oh, this is the bag for heads," and decided that his goes in the bag too. And I'm like, you know
Well,
what?
he wanted the bag back, and he was only going to give us like 50 gold. That's just, no.
Sure, okay.
I'm seeing how this plays out. I love it though. But I mean, I agree with you.
It's fun though. It's really fun seeing what shenanigans your players can get into, and it's like, okay, well, there should be consequences for your actions. Now let's figure out what
those are.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I could see that, and I mean, I play a fair amount, but I enjoy dungeon mastering, not necessarily for
Yeah.
the torturing, but just of the, the active nature that you're always coming up with something else, and sometimes as a
Yeah.
player, there's just too much downtime for me where I get distracted.
Yeah, and you had a taste at DMing one day,
Just
right?
once for like a couple hours
Yeah.
because she was busy working on dot stuff,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we had a game with everyone, and I just kind of jumped in at the last second and was like, all right, I'll take care of this, and started playing around. It was interesting.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun. I could see myself more doing a complete homebrew than a module, just the way my brain works. So I would like to come up with more of it on the fly. And trying to run part of the module, I kept getting stuck with I should describe this way, and not that I necessarily had to, but it, being the first time, it was just let me not mess up.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that, and then I think that's one of the arts of doing it is realizing that the module is there as a guideline.
Yeah.
Just like the rules are, right?
Yeah.
And so, if you improv that it looks a little bit different than the way
Right.
it's described, it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Even if it messes up whatever puzzle or whatever, who cares? They don't even know that there was a puzzle there. So maybe
Right.
there isn't one
Yeah.
there anymore.
I had I forgot what was happening when I was DMing, but I think they were trying to tame the wolves, and it wasn't going well.
They always
at
try
all.
to tame the wolves.
They
Like
always do.
horribly.
Every single
Horribly
game.
bad.
My girls, I was, describing the snarling wolf charging and trying to set up. Okay, you're gonna fight this thing,
Right.
And then, no, I
I
give it
want
food.
to give it some food.
I
You're
give
like,
it food.
puppies!
And then she rolled a 20
Of course.
on her animal handling. I'm like, I can't take that
What are
away
you
from
going to do? That happened the last 2 times that we ran this, didn't it?
Yeah.
You got a
Brian
nat 20
got
and so
one.
did Brian.
No, yeah.
And I'm
It was
like,
bad.
all right, I guess you have a pet wolf now.
That's the
Congratulations.
best part of this game is because you're like, all right, it's a low chance, but if it does,
Yep.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
1 in 20.
I'll let it go. If you
Yeah.
get a nat 20 on something like completely stupid,
I know,
sure, you
right.
can have it.
I got an Almirage in
You
the other
did.
one, too.
Oh, they're so cute.
You did.
That was my little pet,
Yeah.
You remember his name?
Roger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you tell Anna Vo that?
No.
No.
She loves the
I
Almirages.
we
Did not
were
know
with her
that.
before, so she has them all over her laptop too.
Yeah, she's one of our colleagues here at D&D, and she latched onto that
no.
creature very much. I create these sticker sheets and stuff to promote
Yeah.
the books.
She's
and
got like 30 on her laptop.
yeah, I know.
Yep.
Because there was only, if you there's only one of those stickers on each sticker sheet.
So
So she just went to multiple sticker sheets and took off the Almirage and decorated her laptop with it. I was like, all right, that's
too cute.
commitment.
I'm more impressed now.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. So you got your Almirage, and then
someone-
the others tried to get a zombie T-Rex.
Zombie T-Rex.
Oh,
Like, we can't
Also
do
did
this.
not work.
we have that
well.
as a sticker as well. If you want that, we can get it for you.
Good to know.
Sure. I'll bring a sticker home for Sam. Sam, you can have one.
I put one on the back of my bike helmet so that people know that there's a zombie T-Rex in my head. I
Okay.
don't know exactly what it means.
I don't know where you were going with that,
I'm
but
not
you
sure
got there.
either. Yeah,
Almost.
It's no one's there.
We're getting there together.
Yeah,
Okay.
Game.
it's part of the journey. But that's really exciting. I'm glad that you brought your cohort into playing, and
Yes.
I mean, you're already dungeon mastering. You're halfway there.
Yeah. We'll get you behind the damn screen again.
We'll see.
Yeah, it's very different than video games, right? Because there's
Yeah.
so much, creativity that you can do within those games, but not everything.
It's not
Right.
limitless.
unlimited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a new aspect, definitely.
So when you mentioned you played a lot of JRPGs. What's your jam?
I'm gonna probably be hated on for this, but Final Fantasy VII was amazing. I love that game.
Why would you be
Why do you
hated on
hate it?
saying like
Because
that's?
there's so many people that are like, oh, people just say that because it's so popular, and I really just
Fair.
love that game. I've beaten it so many times. I think I still own it on like 5 different platforms.
You do.
Wow.
And you have
I was
different
playing
save
it
files on
probably
every
like a
one.
week ago. Final Fantasy Tactics was
Isn't there
amazing.
like a remake coming too?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I really wanted them. So with Final Fantasy VIII that's coming out right now, they're just revamping it for the PS4. They're doing the graphics, the whole nine, keeping the game exactly the same. Final Fantasy VII, they did all the graphics, they redid everything, but they're changing the fighting system. It's going to be more of an action game.
Why?
You know,
Why do
toward-
that?
I don't know. You're going to have to ask the good old Squeenix people for that one.
We'll get him on the horn. We'll
But,
ask him all about it.
Uh-oh.
I was a little, it hurt.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted the upgrade. I just wanted to play it with new graphics and
Yeah.
see all the cool stuff. I'm still going to buy it. I'm going to pre-order it because it's me, and that's going to happen. But I don't know. I think I'm going to die a little bit inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it won't be as different as you remember it.
I hope not.
But you playing it through
I've played
multiple
it so many
times.
Yeah.
You actually probably remember it a lot more than most people do.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Final Fantasy Tactics is one of my favorites as well.
Tactics was amazing. 6 was great. Like I've played through that series so many times, and then there's like Vandal Hearts and Arc the Lad. Like me and one of my friends had a PS1 that was modded, and we would just burn all those games. Legend of Mana, Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger, like one after another. Breath of Fire 3 was fantastic.
Nice.
But I've played countless RPGs.
Are you a Fire Emblem person at all?
Haven't gotten the new one yet. She has the Switch. I actually looked at it yesterday because we were buying something in Best Buy while we were here in Seattle, and I was
Nice.
like, no, this is not the time.
Right. Not the first purchase right before going to a convention in which there will be
I have
lots of fun
stuff to
stuff.
do all week. Don't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may get it for the plane ride home.
It's possible.
That's worthwhile. That's worthwhile choice.
Yeah, so I get a Switch for me,
And I get Octopath Traveler and Fire Emblem.
and Joey takes my Switch for him
Yeah.
and plays, but that's fine.
That sounds like marriage.
Yeah. Just about.
Yep. Well, amazing. What is the next step for the Dots project? What's your next swing?
So we're always doing everything. One of the most recent things that I don't don't know if we officially announced it yet. I don't think we did. It's okay.
Now we are.
Now we are.
Yeah.
So we're partnering with people that are working on ASL for, RPGs in general, but we're starting with D&D 5th edition. And there may be some videos coming out on some D&D official stuff soon.
Nice.
I don't know when those articles drop. I forget when they drop. But so we're doing stuff, and we're working with people that are either deaf, hard of hearing, certified sign language interpreters, and creating kind of generic sign language that can be used in game instead of spelling things out, like finger spelling, one letter at a time.
Oh, because there's not a
There's no
American
word
Sign
for
Language gesture,
thaumaturgy.
Yes.
or right, or like
Yeah.
the School of Divinity, or
Correct.
the all the proper names that are in there.
Yeah, what was the one that you always go to?
Ranger?
No, Leoman's Tiny Hut.
That's long.
So annoying to have to spell
that out,
right?
right?
Letter by letter.
Prestidigitation, I can't even spell normally.
I can't even say it, so I'm glad you did.
So to try to spell that out every time, I could not.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I really
Yeah.
like that idea. So, how do you design that?
It's not me.
Good question.
It's not us. It's
How do
definitely
people?
not us.
Not you. How do people in the world design
So
those gestures?
It could be, so we have a few things that are like different combinations. For example, if you look at the class Ranger, you say the word Ranger to somebody outside of a D&D context. They may think like a park ranger or park official or something like that.
Yeah.
So if there is, let's say there's the ASL sign for Ranger, it is most likely associated with that park official. So using that in a game setting might be confusing. So we're suggesting the signs for bow and person to signify like an archer. And that would stand in place of the word ranger.
What about the Beastmaster?
We're not getting
fantastic
there
movie.
yet. And then some things like the spell for burning hands, we actually based on the somatic component that's written in the books, that your hands kind of spread out in front of you.
Oh, that's really fascinating to
So
see
there
how
are-
you can do spell descriptions
Right.
based on that.
Yeah, so there are some spells that are specified in the books what that somatic component looks like.
Yeah.
And we're folding that into what the sign language should be for it.
Nice.
Other ones are just kind of like descriptors based on the character or the creature or the beast. But there's a lot to be done. And it's exciting to work through those obstacles with everybody. It's like, well, what makes more sense here? What doesn't make sense? What would transcend language? Because we don't want to only do American Sign Language. We want to make sure that it can be used for people in other countries, like British Sign Language or something like that. So
Are British and American Sign Language very different?
there are some things that are different, yeah. But it's the same as any spoken language,
Right.
too. It's like some words here in English, in American English, might mean something drastically different in British English.
Yeah.
So we're getting anybody that is proficient in sign language or deaf or hard of hearing kind of join up with us, and whether it's creating the signs with us or just giving input and saying, hey, I think this might work, or I think this might work. But that I guess is our newest project.
It's an interesting way to standardize that type of thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's. I mean.
To do something beyond the language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's analogous to the pronunciation guides on D&D Beyond.
Yes.
Right. Where there's certain words that I had no idea how to pronounce them until I heard Matt Mercer and Marisha Ray say them on those type of things.
Right.
And so that has standardized pronunciation to a certain extent, and I guess there's an element of that into standardizing what signs are used for what
Yeah,
things.
that's what we're hoping to do, and that's why we want to get as many people as possible that this will affect to lend their voices. Because, working as a small team of like 3-4 people, we don't ever want to speak for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, if you have input, get in touch with us and let us know what you want to do. We're more than happy to do what needs to be done to make sure that it can make the game easier for people.
Yeah, and I like that you guys are thinking about that. Obviously as two visually
Disabled.
impaired
Yeah.
or hearing impaired, right? Like that you're being the conduit. Like
Yep.
you're trying to get the feedback and the ideas to a certain extent from those communities, and then translating that in through the 501c3 into reality.
Yeah.
And I think that's really fascinating.
That's really our biggest goal, is just to facilitate between, people who are experts in certain fields and, people who live that life and have those challenges, and just trying to make everything work, as best as we can help, or even just putting people in touch with other people. It's really, that's mostly our goal, is just to help the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be networkers.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty much.
And that's stuff that we're good
Spider web creators.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're weaving a web of the community together, right?
Exactly.
Not
Making it
lies
fun.
and deceit.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Except for that whole, demon thing.
And it works out better on a professional level, going to publishers and developers as a 501c3 instead
Yes,
of
totally.
just a single individual, like going to a customer service email
Yeah.
and trying to give feedback.
Right.
So we're able to get in and have lots of conversations that help things in the end, that help things progress overall. We have some great conversations here. We have some other meetings lined up this week that we're here, and everybody wants to do what needs to be done to make things accessible. It's just a matter of figuring out how to do it and where to start, because it's an extensive process and
Yeah.
it's going to take time. But it's wonderful seeing how everybody's open to it.
I agree.
There's never been anybody that says, no, we don't want to make our stuff accessible. Everybody is always like, yeah, how do I do this? Like, what can I do? How can we help?
Yeah, and I think it's
It's exciting.
It's exciting because it's a way to just give back to these communities in
Yeah.
some ways, right? Like there's so many facets of life that I don't think folks really realize are challenges for these communities. I mean,
Right.
I don't think before I started hearing about your work or participating in speaking to Blind Temple about the specific things that that he experienced. How much of a problem it was, right?
Yeah.
And so like just hearing that and then being like, whoa, there's a way to bring the power of the imagination of storytelling that's in this game to these audiences. I just think is really I don't know. It's heartwarming.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's anytime we get one of those stories, it comes most often with the Braille dice, but we'll get messages from people, whether they be public or private, like I gave these to my friend, relative, something like that, and they got to roll dice for the first time in their life, and there's who is it? Alexandria RPG has a set. They're actually at PAX, and they travel throughout the PAXs normally.
Nice.
And they had a guy show up right after we donated a set to them at the last PAX, and they said that he was an older man, and they said he broke down in tears at the thought of being able to roll his own dice in his game. And he sat there and he played for hours, and it was like something that he never got to do before. And that's just so exciting.
That's exciting.
It's heartwarming and it's exciting, and this little thing that we do can help somebody's experience that much more. Absolutely, we're going to keep doing it.
And there's something, that we have noticed a lot about Dungeons and Dragons in general, but, for 5th edition, by just the simple mechanic of advantage, being able to roll more dice.
Mm-hmm.
People have always said, like, oh, who doesn't love rolling dice? Right. And you're like, well, the blind people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until now, right?
Yeah.
They haven't been able to have that simple joy of rolling something and figuring out what it is and then getting that, like, oh, yeah, we did it, type of thing. So
There's been some Braille dice that have existed before. There's been some failed Kickstarters, stuff that has been going around for the last couple of years. But not many people have actually been able to put out something like this and get it out to the communities. And, that's why when we started it, we're like, the files have to go out to the public.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to hold on to this and hoard this and keep this for ourselves. It's if you have access to a 3D printer, and like your school probably does, a library, you can get it done somehow here.
Yeah.
Have it.
Make it happen.
Please enjoy, play.
We're having a hard enough time trying to keep up getting them out to the stores and whatever, because I'm printing all 24/7. It feels like when I'm home, and
luckily it's
still
something
need
you can
more.
totally do while you're playing JRPGs.
Great. I get like an hour in between. I'll go play a game.
It's a turn-based game. You can walk away at any time, go right back.
Yep.
I love it. Yeah, that
it's
makes
good.
total sense. So you guys mentioned when Wolfgang Bauer was here,
Yes.
and he brought in the physical copy of the Braille volume of Tome of Beasts, I believe it was.
And we have
Yeah.
this.
So this is actually different. This isn't Tome of Beasts. This is a Black Hack.
Mm-hmm.
It was a book that was done on D&D First Edition.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what, a 5x7 sheet
Yeah,
of paper.
right. 16
Double-sided,
pages?
14?
16?
Yeah. And so this is
Approximately
8.5
50.
by 11, double-sided, ends up being 100 total pages of Braille
Yeah.
just for that one book.
Right.
So when we're looking at doing Tome of Beasts, because we're doing Tome of Beasts right now for Kobold Press, that book, I forget the total amount. It
26,
averages
I
about
believe.
it averages about 400 pages, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to end up being close to 30 individual volumes of 100 pages apiece. Wow. Same thing for the player's handbook. Is that's going to end up being 25 to 30 pages apiece.
Wow.
It's like an
25 to 30
encyclopedia.
books. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're large, but it's the only way that you can kind of convey
Yeah.
all of that information in Braille form.
And what we're also doing with them is we're also doing specific image descriptions
Ooh.
for all the creatures or the characters. This is specifically the monster manual that we've done.
Yeah.
And so the industry standard for alt text for an image description is about 100 characters.
Okay.
And that's one sentence,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're creating that image description, but then we're also doing a longer, almost paragraph, like 3 to 4 sentences that can fully describe what that artwork looks like. Because if you're a blind DM and you want to try to describe this monster to your players, you don't want to just say, here's a planetar. Like, no, you want to describe what it looks like so they can get that experience instead of just
Yeah.
throwing out a character name.
You know what I like about this is that, obviously it's done with the idea of describing an image to a visually impaired person, but this is just good advice for dungeon masters in general.
Yeah.
To be like, instead of, it's very easy to be like, hey, it looks like this.
Yeah.
And hold
Turn
up
around the book.
Yeah, hold up
We're
the page.
all guilty of it.
Yeah, no, as dungeon masters, it's just really shorthand, and sometimes the artwork is so, well done that you
Right.
don't want to have to describe it. But there is something really powerful about using language and
Yeah.
having the players conjure that image up in their imaginations.
It's like the difference between the movie and the book. Sometimes
Right.
the book is so much better just because you imagined it to be.
Yeah.
And then you go
Yeah.
see the movie and you're like, oh, that's
Well,
what
that's
it
not
looks
what I
like.
thought it
Yeah.
was, right?
Yeah.
And so having that shared conjuring in everybody's mind, I think, is really exciting.
But we're doing stuff like this, and when we finish everything that we need to do here with Wizards, we hope to get these type of descriptions up on D&D Beyond as well.
Oh yeah. Right, and then through text to Braille conversions, they
Yeah.
can then read that while they're doing their research as dungeon masters. Be like, okay, I'm gonna use an aboleth.
Yeah, so the screen readers, like the electronic screen readers that would be on blind individual's computer or phone or something like that, would be able to read this descriptive text, and that person would then understand what this creature looks like.
Yeah.
And that may change how they want to describe it or how they want to play with it in their games.
I'm just reading through these descriptions; they're so good.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I
this
read
is-
one?
No, go ahead.
Yeah,
This
because
is,
I think
we have a group of, I think close to 10 people right now volunteering to do all this on their free time, and it's just phenomenal.
so. The aboleth. Oh, so the people who are writing these are like they're all volunteering to do that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it might have been one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of people working on them.
So the aboleth, which is dramatized somewhat in Waterdeep Dragon Heist. I have a not to give too much away, but it's described as the short description is a green creature with long arms, many teeth in its open mouth. It has 3 eyes on its head. It has several fins on its back and on its longest arm. So that's pretty good at conjuring up.
Yeah.
What you might imagine from there, but the long description is way better. I think I think you're all right. A pale green squid-like creature is swimming to the left. Its body consists of a head of 5 long appendages, the longest of which has translucent green webbing at the end, similar to the tail of a fish. It has 7 fins on its back, all varying in size. Its open circular mouth reveals 4 rows of teeth. 5 sets of gills are on either side of its mouth, and the top of its head has 3 eyes, one on top of the other. Behind it is a green cloud of mucus. See, and I think as a dungeon master, I would love to have these to conjure that image up for people.
And especially like the what I guess I can refer to as like the close-up shot of it, like how many eyes it has, how many gills it has, how many fins it has on its back.
Yeah.
Because depending on the setting that your player is in, you can say like they just caught a glimpse of something and, you know, they see a green creature swim past with 7 fins on its back.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And, you know, you can take these little snapshots of text that we have, and instead of presenting a creature to your players as a whole, just present it as the bits and pieces so that they still have to figure it out, like in real time as their characters
I'll
would.
do you one better. It depends on what they get on their perception score.
Perfect.
Their perception roll,
Perfect.
right? So if they roll a 10 or less, you give them the short description. If they roll a nat 20, you got to give them
You get
something
the
that's
whole
worth
thing.
a nat 20, and this
You
is
get the
everything
big
that
one.
you see.
Yeah.
I really like that. One question here, though, and I don't know if this is something that is a thing or not. When you use comparisons, would that help someone or would that hurt someone?
We actually had a conversation about this the other night.
For example, like the tail of a fish.
Yeah.
You're like, well, would they know what a tail of a fish looks like?
It depends. Some stuff, just for the sake of, for those long descriptions, we try to keep them under 700 characters.
Yeah.
Some stuff that are like commonplace, like bird, fish, we'll try to use that. But other ones that...
if it's a specific animal, instead of a bird, if someone says an eagle, we would try not to put that in because that conjures a very specific image rather than, a couple of wings, a beak. Okay, bird. Yeah, I get bird. And we're hoping that that's enough. But in any case where we have the characters to go past that and really just dive into straight description rather than presenting it as a simile or anything like that. So we try not to, but in a case like that, that's pretty close to 700 characters already. And if you took out like a fish and tried to really
describe what a fish's fin looks like,
it
would just be too long. And that's part of the reason why our volumes are going to be so big, because those are a glossary at the back of each volume to
the appendix.
To let them, this image, here's the short description, and then when they want to go read the long one, you can go and just, I need this, I need that, I need this, and like shows you the real description, in detail. But that adds pages to each one of our volumes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fascinating. All
so
right,
we
well,
don't want to go too far.
I love what you guys are doing. It seems like you've got a lot of irons in the fire of trying to make Dungeons and Dragons more accessible for people who have all type of disabilities. So
Definitely.
I think it's great. I love that you're doing. You're listening to those folks and being that part of the community. I have a sneaking suspicion that many people who are listening to this may want to give you feedback and be involved with that. So what's the best way for folks to do that? How can they get involved? How can they offer their help?
So our website, dotsrpg.org or .com, either one works. But now that we're 501c3 official, we have the .org, so it's exciting.
Woo!
And you can get us on all social media at dotsrpg, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're all over everything. Generic emails, info@dotsrpg.com. Like, you can get us.
She's good at this.
Yeah.
Yes, and by us, I mean mostly me. Sometimes
she
Joey.
reads and then dictates, and I do stuff.
Sometimes Joey.
That's how that works.
You can also
you're the
get
factory worker. I see.
Yeah.
Basically.
You can also get Tyler in on the emails. There's really 3 of us that run everything. And it's...
Volunteers wanted. Big
Bright
sign.
neon signs.
Yes, please.
Whatever you want to do to help, yes.
And if
Please
people have
come
new
help.
ideas for how to improve the type of
yeah.
stuff that you're doing,
Just shoot it our
Put
way.
my crazy brain to work. And if
Yeah.
you're smarter than me, which you probably are, tell me how to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot that we don't know, and we want to learn. Like, this is not something that we could ever experience on our own. So please tell us what your experiences are in real life. What will make your life easier? How can we help you enjoy this game that everybody loves?
Right.
And if it's something that we can feasibly do, we're gonna do it.
Great.
Or try really, really hard at least.
We're going to do it.
Well, get in touch at all the places. Dots RPG, you guys are doing a great job. And I can't wait and hope you enjoy Seattle and PAX West.
Yes, we're looking forward to it.
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
All right. Peace out.
Hi.
All right. So you guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Way to go. You do all the good things. I am going to look at the camera that Pelham's telling me to look at.
That one.
We're going to take a short break. Let these guys get out and back to Seattle proper so that you can start buying some dice, I think. And then we'll have Chris Perkins talk about some lore that you should know. Come back in just a couple minutes. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.